think the starting point is to see that these attacks, as audacious as they are, can't be understood outside of the context of the last few decades worth of interactions we've had in that part of the world, and specifically the policies we've pursued in the Middle East. And by that I mean, we've seen attacks on US embassies, which is a really grave matter to attack a sovereign territory. We've seen that happen over and over. The first watershed was the attack on the US embassy in Tehran in 1979. We've seen that happen over repeatedly, and the response repeatedly has been inaction and passivity and appeasement of those who attacked us. And the other aspect of this pattern is the character of those who have been attacking us, both in Tehran 1979 and then since then over the years. It is an Islamist movement. The Islamic totalitarian movement has a lot of factions. You will have heard of some of them, like the Muslim Brotherhood, the regime in Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah. They're all different in various minute, detailed ways, but fundamentally they share a common goal. It's a bizarre goal. It's grandiose. It seems fantastical. It's hard to believe that they're really actuated by it. But the truth is, it's a religious ideology that seeks to impose their interpretation of Islam as a total political system, a totalitarianism that is rooted in their view of Allah's word on earth. That's what motivates them. Part of our weakness and what's crippled our policy over the decades in response to these acts of aggression from the Islamist movement, and it's been embassy attacks and bombings. 9/11 was a major one in this pattern. We haven't named the nature of this enemy. We haven't understood what motivates it. And as part of that, our response has been weak and passive. The consequence has been that we've encouraged them over and over. So when you see these audacious attacks in Libya and in Egypt, to understand how someone would have the goal to attack our embassies, you have to understand the progression before that of this Islamist enemy attacking us in various ways over time, our passivity to it, and the way in which that mechanism, that pattern works over time. What's at stake here, and it's interesting that one of the threads in these acts of aggression is the issue of free speech. So we've seen it here with this YouTube video. We've seen it before with the Muslim the cartoons of Muhammad, 2006. And we've seen it prior to that with the death decree fatwa of Salman Rushdie, the author. Free speech is a fundamental in the West. We can't let that go. It's crucial to preserving our own freedom here, all the other freedoms we cherish. And it wasn't a given throughout history. It's something that was hard fought and won, and it was a signal achievement of the West. It is incompatible with the totalitarian Islamic regime, which is the goal actuating this movement. So sometimes it's obviously a pretext that they use free speech, but they really don't want free speech. So it's both a pretext and it's something that is relevant to their belief system. They can't tolerate the free mind, in effect. They want obedience. And so what's at issue here is, and we've seen this as well in Europe, where this trend is farther along, we've seen demands by the Islamists to obey what in effect are Islamist dictates about what you can and cannot say. So that is part of what's at stake, the attack on freedom of speech in the West, and the fact that the broader picture in which this is occurring is acts of aggression, a trend, a pattern where the enemy is unidentified, tragically, even after 9/11, a decade later, and the fact that we are continuing response is weak and appeasing very often. And you just need to look at the response to these most recent attacks to see that that pattern is being reenacted in various ways, and it has been under different administrations. I started by answering this question with, you need to know the whole backstory, and I think that's really the action step for people here, which is to read into the past events. To understand today, you need to know the whole backstory, and that is crucial to educate yourself both on what happened in 79, what happened in 89, what really happened, and this story of the Muslim outrages after the Muhammad cartoons, that in itself is a little-known story that people need to understand fully before they can form a view and evaluate what's going on today. So I would encourage people to go back, and the industry's been talking about these issues literally for decades, and we have a host of resources I hope you'll investigate and learn more from.